Okay, you have your subject, you've established contact, you've laid the ground rules out for them, they understand what this project involves, you've got your sources all lined up. Now you're ready to get started. So let's look at what interviewing looks like under these circumstances. Let's start to really incorporate in what we're doing this quote from Anne Hull, which is observation is the art of watching. So this is not just being there, and it's not just seeing what transpires in front of you. You have to actually look at it. You have to look at it with a practiced and a trained eye and really start to see everything that goes on around you. What people wear, what the color of the walls are, what their mannerisms are, why things transpire the way they do, what's going to happen next. All of this is part of observation. From an interviewing perspective, I need you to throw out to a great degree a lot of what you already know, which is how to do conventional A-roll interviewing, which is sit someone down in a chair, have a prepared list of questions, get your little tape recorder out, get your notebook out. All that goes out the window here. This is more field reporting than it is actual interviewing. You're reporting what you see and you experience, you're engaging with your subject in a dialogue, in a conversation, and you're writing from that perspective as opposed to a conventional give and take on an interview scale. Um, your use of notebooks is going to change. So rather than you scribbling furiously, quotes and everything that people say, you need to be more using it as a memory tool and a way for you to keep track of what's going on. You may need to write things down after your conversation has taken place. You do more recording in order to maintain your accuracy so that you can truly be in the moment. Look for listening posts. Where are people gathered? Kind of hover around there and see, get a feel for it. I remember I went to do a story of a Blue Jackets hockey player, Jack Johnson. And when I was doing that story, I went to practice and watched him during the preseason. And where I got some of the greatest information was where all of the broadcasters and the media and the Blue Jackets television personalities were hanging out just watching practice. So I didn't engage in that conversation. I just sort of hovered in the background with them and heard some incredible insights that they would not have given me per se had I been interviewing them. Now they knew I was there. I certainly wasn't hidden, and I was able to get involved in the conversation to a degree, but it was much more organic and natural because of that environment. Make sure that you are meeting in their world. You are not now setting up interviews for you to go and sit down with people. They say, I got to pick up my kids from daycare and go to the grocery store. Great, go with them. Say you'll write while you're in the car. If they're on the bus, take them. Don't get involved in the sense of you can't be the one who drives them. You can't be the one who provides them with the mechanism to get from point A to point B. That will change your story. But you can participate in the world in which they're living. This is really going to accelerate your intimacy. And I need you to just separate from that Barbara Walters style of interviewing, of that formal sense of interviewing. Now you're part of the experience. You're part of this life that they're leading. You just happen to be the one who's taking notes about it. In a lot of ways, this is equated, and we say this about interviewing a lot, that it's like an onion. So the outer level is pretty brittle and dry, and that means if you just ask people very cursory questions when you first get started on an interview, you're going to get pretty superficial, dry answers. But if you dig a little bit deeper, the next layer is going to be a little shinier, even though it's limp. And you may or may not use that. If you have to, you'll use that. But what you really want to do is keep digging until you get to the center, when you get to the real heart of what's going on. The sources are the subject here. You don't necessarily in any way have to be an expert in what you're covering. And the subject is not the author of this. The readers want to root for a narrator. So we need for you to provide them through your sourcing a narrator they can root for. Even if it's someone who's experiencing something that they're unfamiliar with, or they might, hopefully they're going to be uncomfortable with to a degree because it is something so new to them. You still want them to be able to relate to this person and feel the compassion that comes from human interaction. So make sure that you are really cultivating this relationship with your sources, and you're painting a full and complete picture for us that allows us to see them, the best and the worst parts of them. You will be desperate to ask questions a lot of the time, and you'll shift into interviewer mode. I don't know about you, but I find myself doing that when I'm at parties now. I shift into interview mode. You got to fight it. Think more like a photographer. A photographer sees the frame in front of them, through the viewfinder of the camera. They don't speak. They don't direct, they chronicle. And that's what we want you to be doing. So if you feel like you need to see the world through a viewfinder in order to keep that going, then do that. But don't interrupt the flow of events. Be open to changes that's taking place. See all sides of the circumstance that's in front of you. But really, that art of observation is going to be key to your success on these projects. That doesn't mean, though, you don't do your homework and you get information beforehand, so hopefully you're equipped to know what's going on while you're watching it. Your presence has to be really minimized. Again, if someone's in the midst of arguing with their kid about, getting some work done or whatever, you're not getting involved in this. You're simply an observer. You're watching. You're not one of them. And that may be something that you need to bring up with your subject that you're going to be observing. And it may feel uncomfortable to have someone watching while all these things transpire in their lives. But it's okay. This is all part of the story process. And then get all of what we're going to call smellable facts. Write down all the visible, tactile, consumable things. What are you seeing, feeling, tasting, touching? What's going on around you? What does the aura of this moment feel like for the people who are in it, so that you can come back and depict it for us? And keep your mouth shut. The more you can be quiet, you will learn a lot. Remember that people need time. Everybody needs time to get comfortable with you. They need that level of comfort in order to really start to reveal the inner workings of their mind. Very few people are listened to purely without interruption. They don't really know what to do with that. And so you need to provide the open space that will let them start to build a level of comfort. And, think about when you're riding in a car with your parents. You don't need to say anything and it's not uncomfortable. Whereas if you're riding in the car with someone you've just met, or someone who you're a casual acquaintance with, one of you has to be talking to fill the void. So you're building toward that relationship like your parents, where you're comfortable in the silence, where things just happen and you're there to experience them. And that's going to come if you're able to just let the circumstances unfold in front of you.